Boom, we're rolling. So Murph went good for you, man?
Yeah, Murph went great. Like I said, like I told you earlier, I was just trying to manage everything because got a high rocks competition in New York City this weekend, so didn't want to go crazy with it. So immediately finished Murph, came back home, ate some lunch, and then jumped in a cryo chamber real quick, and then took a little nap, and now here we are.
What does a managing Murph time look like for you?
45. It was
Okay. Yeah, that's
with
good.
the vest and everything. So I just wanted to kind of manage and maintain. It was fun just to be out there with the community and everything, especially as a veteran and just being out there with a lot of fellow vets and people that are big supporters of the military. And it was good.
Hell yeah. Did you go to like a CrossFit gym or something?
Yeah, it's kind of a CrossFit gym. They do a lot of CrossFit style workouts, but it's more of just a functional fitness type thing. I started going there a little while ago. It's called 757 Rock. It's they primarily started when obstacle course racing really kicked off,
Hmm.
and they had a lot of the obstacle course based stuff in the gym for everybody to go and try out a Spartan race type obstacle before they were actually at the Spartan race. So they started off as that, and then they kind of have evolved over time to all the different competitions and things people are doing. So CrossFit, High Rocks, DECA, which is the High Rocks version of Spartan race, I guess. All those kind of different things. So yeah, it's a great gym.
Dude, ever since I started doing Murph, I've only got a chance to do it with a group of people one time. Way better. Way better.
Yeah,
I did it this morning by myself and my wife was like marking the rounds for me and stuff, but suffering by yourself, I mean, there's something to it, but I do that every
yeah,
day. I like to kind of join a
yeah.
it's nice to have a community around you to just feed off of that. So good on you for having that available. And did you guys have a good turnout?
Yeah, it was a really good turnout. They had a couple different waves, in fact, just to make sure they managed all the people. I live here in Newport News, Virginia, kind of just away from Norfolk and Virginia Beach and Williamsburg. So it's one of the biggest military communities in the world. So there's I don't think there's enough CrossFit gyms and barbells and stuff like that in the area to really cover all the veterans and active duty military that are in this area.
It's clear fitness is a huge part of your life. How old are you, man?
I'm 42. I'll be 43 this August. So a couple months till I hit 43.
Hell yeah. If I can look like you at 42, 43, I'm doing it right then.
Yeah,
Good on you,
yeah,
dude.
I appreciate that. Yeah, just trying to keep up with I got a 9-year-old daughter. She turns 10 in September. So just trying to keep up with her and everything else that's going on in life.
Yeah, I want to jump into that too, man. And I don't know if you're familiar with my show or not, but they're not really interviews. They're kind of just conversations, and I like to bounce all over the place. So if you're cool
Yeah.
with that, we'll just roll that way.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah.
What made you want to join the military?
Well, I'm gonna be honest. Like when I joined, I went to my guidance counselor because I was struggling with actually coming up with the money to go to college. And that was kind of the path I wanted to take. I was getting looked at for different football scholarships from different areas, but nothing really, I wasn't going to be a full ride guy. I was getting recruited by a couple smaller schools and really wanted to go to college and play football and then just use that as a launching pad for whatever else I wanted to do in life. At that time, it was law school was kind of what I had my heart set on. And I had the grades. I mean, I was getting recruited by Princeton and Brown and Columbia and those Ivy League type schools for football. And I had the grades and the test scores to be able to get in. But my parents had me when they were bright-eyed, bushy-tailed teenagers, 19 and 17 was when they had me. And then they had my brother and sister. And so college savings really wasn't at the top of the list. It was putting a roof over our head and food on our plates. And so when it got to that point, I went to my guidance counselor, and guidance counselor said, "Hey, we got this thing called an ROTC scholarship and reserve officer training for. You'll go to college for 4 years, fully paid for, and then when you leave the military, you just do 4 years active, 4 years of independent ready reserve, which is basically if they need you, they'll call you back." And this was 1999, 2000 timeframe. So at that point, I mean, the guidance counselor made it seem like it was like, oh, this is just going to be a cakewalk. You'll be able to do those 4 years, get out, do whatever you want to do with the rest of your life. And then, so did that. My freshman year went by and everything was kind of okay. Yeah, this is going to be a cool 4 years of military service. And then 9/11 happened on my first semester of my sophomore year. And from that point, you kind of thought, things are going to be a little bit different. And then when I graduated college, I got my commission the same day as I graduated. The week later, I was at my first duty station, and 6 months after that, I was in Iraq. So it was a kind of a fast-paced intro to the military for me, but it was really at the beginning just how do I pay for college, and then it became kind of a lifestyle.
How many deployments did you do?
I did three. I did back-to-back deployments. Like I said, I graduated in '04, and then October, November timeframe of '04, I was in Iraq, and then I did '04, '05, came back for 8 months, did '06, '07, came back for a year, and then I did '08, '09, '08, '09. So three back-to-back 1 year deployments, kind of right at the tail end of each other. And then I did an aide job for a two-star general for about a year and a half. And then right around that point, I decided to get out of the military right around my 7 year mark.
Gotcha. Do any of them stand out more than the others?
I think my second deployment stands out more so than all of them. My first and third deployments had their own things, obviously their own stories. But the second deployment we did basically was called a convoy escort. So for most people, it's gun trucks. You're escorting logistics convoys from the border of Kuwait and Iraq to wherever they need to go in Iraq to resupply military bases with whatever they need. So we traveled on the roads and routes of Iraq from everywhere, all the way up to the northernmost area to Ramadi, Fallujah, Mosul, Baghdad, all the different wonderful places you probably heard about on the news. We escorted convoys there. So, and that was the one deployment where I saw the most action when it comes to small arms fire, mortars, IEDs, EFPs, which were kind of a bigger, larger version of an IED, things like that.
Yeah. Well, good on you, man. Thank you. And I'm sure today is, I'll probably drop this tonight or in the morning, but today is Memorial Day. So
Yeah.
I'm sure this day is special to you as it is for many of us out here. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely a day of reflection and memory of the people we lost.
absolutely. Would you do it all over again if you had the choice?
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. I think it molded me into the man I am. My father, my grandfather, all of them definitely helped me become a better man and a man of values and things like that. But it was the military, I think, that really formed me into a leader, someone that could be counted on. I learned so much from a lot of the people around me, a lot of mentors. My what I like to say is that if when people ask me to describe myself in 3 words, I kind of lean on what retired two-star general who I was an aide to said, and it was committed, dependable, and relentless. If you can be those three things, and they have each have their own meaning and to what they mean to me, but those are the three things I kind of live by, and that came from that military service. So yeah, I mean, saw things, did things that probably nobody wants to see and do, but at the end of the day, it molded me into who I am, and I wouldn't change that for the world because it's made me a better father. I feel like in a lot of cases, it's made me a better leader in the community, the things we kind of need in society today. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it instills discipline too, is what
Yeah,
I've talked to a ton of people that were in the military and I have friends and stuff, and they're just some of the most disciplined people that I know. That seems to never leave them. That's one common trait that I've noticed throughout everybody that I talk to on the show or just personal
yeah,
relationships that
one
I have.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's just that that schedule of getting up, getting your exercise in, doing your job, to the best of your ability, and then, having your time off when you have your time off, but for the most part, you have purpose and you're dedicated to something, and that commitment goes a long way. And yeah, it's definitely consistency in what you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. It all helps.
You're a girl dad, right?
Yeah, yeah, yep. 9 years old, 10 years old this year. She'll be hitting double digits.
Awesome. How's that been?
It's been amazing. I think, I kind of look back and sometimes I'm wondering what if it would have been a boy first and all that kind of things. Like would I change my parenting style or anything? But she's been a blessing. I think she taught me so much. She taught me more than I could ever teach her when it comes to patience, just being able to portray and talk about emotions, just all those kind of things that I really wasn't good at before I had her. She's really kind of opened me up to being just an overall better dad, better man, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. She's my everything, and so yeah, I live. She's my why. I live for her.
She kind of calmed me down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I've heard
That
that.
that
I've heard that a lot. That's probably something I need, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, it opens your eyes to a lot of different things about, how I went about looking at the world as a whole, and then ultimately how I live life. Because one of the big things for me was when she was roughly 2 years old. That's when her and her mom and I split, and it kind of was a come to Jesus moment for me, because at that point I was not in great shape mentally or physically. I was kind of just really struggling after getting out of the military, becoming a father, having relationship issues, those kind of different things. And I kind of was hitting rock bottom around that point. And really it was her who I had to look at and say, what kind of an example am I being for her? And that's really what changed my life and led me in the trajectory I'm on now.
Yeah. If when she becomes of age and if she's interested in joining the military, is that something that you would support?
Yeah, I mean, it's a question that I have been asked a lot, and I ask myself a lot of it, especially in today's world. I mean, it's a little bit different looking around us today than it was, even back in 2001 when 9/11 happened. It's a lot more going on, I feel like,
Mhm.
and a lot different types of warfare are going to be fought, I think, in the future. And so I honestly definitely would support her decision if she wanted to, be of service in that way. I may sway her to other branches, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You were in the army, right?
Yeah, I was Army. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we have an Air Force base right around the corner. I like to call them Chair Force. So I know you may have Air Force listeners, but we all rib each other a little bit. So but yeah, I think I'd support the decision. But really, it would be that sit down with her and really helping her. And this is for any parent that I feel like son or daughter going into the military. It's really sitting down and having the conversation about what that really means, and then finding somebody who's, if you're not a parent that served, finding somebody who has served and letting them have that conversation with them and really understanding what they're signing up for. Recruiters, they're trying to get their numbers, obviously, but the people that have actually, served and have a different perspective is always nice to be able to sit down with and really understand what you're doing versus kind of just seeing a movie, which I think a lot of us did back in, my era, 2001, 2002. You saw 9/11 happen and you saw movies about the SEALs and all that kind of stuff. And you get this idea of what the military is going to be like. Then you get in and it's part of that, but it's not all of it. And I think that's what people need to understand. And that's what I would encourage people that are giving advice to their sons or daughters who are looking to serve.
Let's take a step back here. What was your transition like out of the military? Because I know it can be very challenging for a heck of a lot of guys. And even with me, like getting out of law enforcement and stuff, it's been a unique challenge and transition. So, how was yours? Was it smooth? Was it difficult? Are you still figuring it out? Do you have it figured out?
Yeah, I think job wise, it was relatively smooth. And the only reason I'll say I got lucky was because I had been in that aid job with a two-star general who had connections. And when I got out, it was, hey, I hate to make it this simple, but hey, three-star retired general who owns this company, I got this aide who's getting out. You should probably hire him. And that interview process went relatively quickly. And I was doing business development pretty much the day after, I got out of the military. So job wise, I didn't have to do and go through a lot of the things that a lot of, my friends, in fact, have had to go through with resume writing, with all the interview process, with trying to find a fit, you know, going back and getting education so that it'll help their job chances. There's a lot there that people have to deal with. let alone, people that aren't going back to military communities where those jobs, those contractor type jobs are more prevalent. But and then, I think that was okay. I think the mental side was the side that I think I struggled with the most, and I'm still struggling with today. I don't think you ever really solve it with mental health. I think you find ways to manage and to better understand what you're doing, what's happening when you're going through those kind of things, when you're having mental health breakdowns and things like that. And then ultimately, reaching out and finding help and talking to people and those kind of things. That's what's really helped me because in the beginning, when I first got out, I recognized the pattern. And at that point, my ex, who was my daughter's mom, recognized that things weren't right mentally. I had all the outlet, all the signs of PTSD, depression, anxiety, all the things I've been kind of diagnosed with, and I refused to kind of find help because at that point it was the stigma of, well, that's not what you want to
Weak.
do. Yeah, it's weak, it's weakness. And this is coming from also, a family where my grandfather was post-depression era, hard man kind of thing. And so it was just all those kind of things wrapped up into one. And it wasn't until I had the kind of rock bottom moment when my ex and I split, I realized I was going to kind of be not a single dad because we co-parent, obviously, but it was going to be, my responsibility to be there and present and have her, 50% of the time, roughly. And 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 it just all hit me at once. And I remember breaking down, hitting rock bottom. I remember being in a Days Inn hotel room and ready to end it all, to be blunt and honest. And I made it through that night, fortunately. And I remember showing up my mom's and dad's doorstep the next morning and just breaking down completely. And my mom helped me pick up the phone and call for help. And that was kind of the journey to finding, not a solution, but finding my way through, everything and all the mental health issues I was dealing with. And then, from there, I haven't solved it, but it's definitely helped me manage relationships and things like that because before I wasn't that great at any of that stuff. It was all the touchy feely stuff, quote unquote. It was
Hmm.
not me. It was kind of balls to the wall, hard, do everything 100% and don't look back. And if you fall down, that's on you. Like it's just a lot of those kind of hard mindsets that you see out there. But yeah, yeah, I think that was the biggest struggle that I had getting out.
How'd you make it through that night? What kind of conversations were you having with yourself?
Yeah, so it was a terrible mix of a lot of different things that night. I was having access to, a firearm and then a lot of drinking that had happened that night and just really hitting that rock bottom. And then I think the biggest thing the biggest like wake up moment during that night that I think kept me from doing it was my daughter. Obviously, she was 2 at the time, roughly. And then it was, well, who's going to raise her? Who's going to, dance with her at her wedding? Who's going to see her, go to prom? All those things and the not and thinking about not having me in the picture and not making those memories, that really stopped me from doing it. And I think she saved me that night. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. It was her.
Yeah, how old was she at that time?
Let's see. She was roughly, yeah, she had just turned 2 when that happened. Yeah, because that was November of 2016, and she was born in September of 14.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing all this, man. I know it's difficult, but you just be surprised the stories that everybody has, and
Yeah,
it's their choice, right? If they want to share a moment like you had in that hotel room or if they don't. And
yeah,
I think it's almost doing not only yourself, but everybody kind of a disservice if you have kind of hit that bottom and you don't explain how it is that you got out of there.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, it's interesting you say that because I've been a part of a lot of speak out type, don't hold back, speak out type movements that are out there. And that's one of the big things is being able to share your story and talk about it. Because I've got friends that have gone through a lot of the same things, and just me talking about like what I went through has helped them, in a lot of ways, kind of manage their mental health and their thought process when it comes to a lot of things. Because I'll be honest, I got out in 2011, and there was a good 10-year time period after I got out where I didn't go a single calendar year without one of my former soldiers committing suicide. I had, twin brothers that were in my unit commit suicide 1 week apart. And it's something that means a lot to me, because I've seen so much of it. And, the whole number of 22 a day, which is actually probably more than that. 22 veterans a day commit suicide, but it's much more than that when we talk about active duty and everything else. So it is a huge issue in the military community. And I feel like the more we talk about it and the more we, get out and become active about changing the way it's viewed and the way it's diagnosed and the way it's treated, the more we can better solve it, I think.
Do you think the guys that aren't sharing are just they have their egos a little bit, or maybe how do I describe this? Do you think they might be portrayed as soft or their ego's in the way or they don't really know exactly what's going on, so they don't say anything? Why do you think that guys aren't choosing to put themselves out there?
I think it's a combination of everything that you just said, to be honest. I think there's definitely the stigma. I think especially when you talk about men and feelings and expressing them, it's uh it's it's difficult because let's be honest, social media has a lot to say and do with it as well. You have your, I hate to name drop, but you have your Andrew Tates of the world and those kind of guys that, are very, on one side, it's, showing emotion, doing those things, and you're a beta and all that kind of stuff, all those, fun words that we're throwing around today. But at the end of the day, I think it's the strongest man who can step up and say, this is what I'm dealing with, this is what I'm going through, and here's how we're going to overcome that obstacle. And here's how I'm going to get better from that versus trying to hide it or trying to just deal with it on your own. We all need help in some way, shape, form, or fashion. The best way I can put an analogy to it is eventually you're going to try to max out on the bench or the squat or something like that in the gym, and you're going to need a spotter. We
Yeah.
all need spotters in our lives. We all need those people we can turn to when things get hard and difficult. And it just doesn't have to be when you do a physical thing. It's also the mental side. Hey, things are hard for me right now. I'm going through a separation or a divorce. I'm going through, post-traumatic stress. I'm going through anxiety, depression. I'm having issues, and being able to reach out to somebody and talk about it, whether it be a friend, family member, professional, whoever it's going to be, it does help. And I promise you, 90% of the people out there won't view you as weak or for doing it. There's only a small select few, I think, that have that mindset, and they're probably not the people you should surround yourself with and turn to in the first place. So yeah, I feel like it's a combination of everything you said. It's they want to, the machismo of it all, like coming out and expressing emotions, and then, just I think a lot of men too, and I struggle with it, is how do you express the emotion? Like how do you talk about it? Like it's sometimes it can be hard to kind of formulate into words what you're feeling and what you're going through. And that's when I had to find professional help. That's when I had to find somebody who could translate and say, all right, the things that you're telling me right now, like, this is what this means. And and that's helped a lot. And I just I can't put stomp it enough. If you're feeling those kind of emotions, those kind of ways, whether you're, anxious about things, depressed, all the, whatever you're feeling, talk about it. Find somebody. We all have close friends or family members or loved ones that we can turn to and just kind of express it and then just go from there. That's the first step. That's it. That's the biggest first step you can take. And then from there, the journey's led me to, better places. And what, 8 years, 7 years, 8 years now since I made that first step. And that's the best advice I can give anybody.
Jason, I love that term. Like we all need spotters. I've never heard it put that way, but being active and in the gym all the time, both of
Yeah.
us are. That hits with me. I really,
Yeah.
really get that. That's so true. Did you come up with that or did you hear that somewhere?
I just came up with
I love that, dude.
it.
It's so good. It's
Yeah.
true. It's true as hell, though. That's really why I like it. It's so true.
Yeah, yeah, it's just something, I work in analogies a lot. And so that was just something that, I kept you look around the gym and you got all the gym bros and they're all spotting each other, giving them, giving each other like fist bumps and you look huge, bro. You look that blah blah. We're willing to give each other that level, that kind of emotional support in the gym. Why can't that translate over to outside the gym where like, hey, you're crushing your relationship, bro. Hey, maybe like the accountability thing is also huge amongst men, I feel like, where it's, hey, you're not stepping up and doing what you need to do as a man. And I feel like that's where we need to be better as men as a whole, is holding each other accountable in those times where we're really not doing so. And so we do a great job of it in the gym and behind those doors when we walk in to the bodybuilding meet or a competition or things like that. But we're shitty at it when it comes to the
Real life.
emotional
Yeah.
side in real life.
Yeah, I think it's an image thing too, man. That's why, like, I really enjoy listening to interviews with, who DJ Shipley is?
Yeah, yeah, I know DJ. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's like, I mean, he's huge, right? He's big,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
intimidating looking, he's got tattoos all over the place. And recently he's been like one of the biggest advocates for all of this stuff, suicide
yeah,
and mental health and everything. So, I mean, if you look at him and you hear what's coming out of his mouth, that would
yeah,
resonate with me. It's like that guy's big and early and intimidating, but I mean, if he can talk about this shit, well, hell, why can't I? Even a guy like you, great shape, tattoos, like beard, that comes off to some people as intimidating or, he's a
yeah,
tough guy type of thing. Well, it's like, he's just a dude, man. Like, if he's
yeah.
going through this kind of shit and can talk about it, I mean, I think it's opening the door for a lot of guys.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, DJ, I think is I follow him. I know he lives somewhere in the Virginia Beach area, I think
Yep.
still. But yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna take more men like DJ, like Ray Cash Care, like those kind of guys who everybody views as these intimidating figures who have done, the Billy badass things in life. But to come out and say, hey, I've struggled with it too, and here's how I got through it. It's the sharing of those stories, the sitting around the campfire and having those kind of things. And I've seen a lot more men's groups start to pop up where, hey, we're gonna go get together for 3 days or a weekend or whatever it's gonna be. We're gonna go climb mountains. We're gonna go shoot stuff. We're gonna do all the fun stuff. But then at the end of it, we're gonna sit together and we're gonna have conversations. And I think the more we have that kind of tribal mentality, the more, I think you're going to see a lot of these issues that we're having amongst men, amongst veterans, those kind of things, maybe start to kind of resolve themselves a little bit. Not totally. I think you're never going to maybe 100% solve the problem, but I think it's finding better avenues to get there.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head too. That tribal, you got to find your community. You got to find your group of people that
Yeah.
align with you. Like you don't need a ton of friends. You just need a few good ones.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's one of the biggest issues also with coming back from the military and deployments and everything is the finding of the tribe, the community that understands you and that you feel like you can express and talk about your experiences with. One of the, things that I am blessed with is I come back to one of the bigger military communities in the world where, you can't throw a rock without hitting somebody who's been in the service. But what about those guys that come back or ladies that come back and they go back home to, nowhere, Iowa. I'm just throwing it out there. Sorry, Iowa. And there's no veterans. You may have a VFW or something like that you can go to, but it's maybe not the same. So it's those kind of things that I feel like the VA and maybe some nonprofits out there could really help with is how do we reach and build community for those that don't really have access to it.
Yeah. I'm sure you've used fitness as a way of
Oh
calming your
yeah.
mind and kind of getting out of that hole that you were in too. Can you touch on what fitness has done for your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the first step in helping me get through what I was going through mentally, because I obviously had my, rock bottom moment, and then from there, the military was always, I was always a 300, like in the like when I was in the Army at that point, 300 was like the max score you can get on a PT test. And I was always kind of that 300 guy. Like I aimed for like that perfection in whatever I did, whether it be going to the range and, shooting, 20 for 20, 40 for 40, whatever it was going to be on the range. And then doing it physically as well, for PT tests. And I lost that when I got out. Like there was no structure anymore. There was no, get up at 6 a.m. to go to PT, do your PT, then you go to the range that day for training, or you're doing this, it's very structured in the military. When I got out, there's no structure, and, lost myself. And then after my rock bottom moment, go to the, find the mental help. I started going, seeing a therapist, talking through those kind of things, but still looked at myself in the mirror and was like, oh, this is not who I am at all. I played college football. I was, in the military. Being 50 pounds overweight is not what I want in my life. And not only that, but when I've been down to play with my daughter on the floor, I'm huffing and puffing, and that's not what I want to be. And so I remember signing up for a Spartan race on Groupon of all places. Like I just happened to come across a Groupon deal for a Spartan race, and in Virginia. It was the western part of Virginia, and so I signed up for it and went out there and did it, and it was, roughly 6, 7 miles, and, however many 25 obstacles or whatever it was. But I remember it really challenged me, and I probably, thought about quitting 50 times during that race. But I crossed the finish line, and at that moment, like it was something that I wanted to do. It was a challenge, and it was like, okay, like I can do better at this. And I want to do better at this. So I started signing up for Spartan races everywhere I could find them. And I probably went from finishing 1,000th out of 1,000 people at that first race in Virginia, to being able to, by December of that year, that was June of 17. By December of 17, I was finishing in the top 20 in elite heats. And then the next year I started doing, started competing for world and national championships type stuff. And so I had found my why, fitness wise. I had found kind of a reason to go out and continue to work out versus just going to the gym just to go to the gym and not having any real purpose there. It was, all right, I'm building myself for the next race and for the next race and for the next race. And then COVID happened. And that was probably mentally for me the another moment where it was like, oh, there's no gym. What am I gonna do? Like there's no races to look forward to. There's everything's getting canceled. And so I started laying down challenges for myself, and then just I found myself running more and more and more. And I think it was Memorial Day weekend of 2020. I went out and like for that weekend, I went on Saturday and ran a 1 mile time of like a 4 minute 58-second mile just to see if I could run sub 5. Then the next day I was like, I wonder how long, like I wonder if I can run a 50K, because that would be the farthest I'd ever run. I'd run marathons up to that point, but I'd never run a 50K ultra. So I went out and ran a 50K in like 4.5 hours,
That's
and then
cruising, brother.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And then
cruising.
and then I did Murph that Monday of Memorial Day weekend. So I had done like those three things just to kind of challenge myself. But I had a lot of ultra running friends that followed me, and I followed them, and they reached out and said, "Hey, that 50K time is nothing to really, you know, balk at. Like you should really, maybe try this thing." So I started running more and more miles. I was getting up to, 80, 90, 100 mile weeks. And then finally, when things opened up, it was October of 2020. It was when I ran my first ultra run. And it was a 13-hour race where you just ran loops of this like 3, 4 mile course over and over again for 13 hours. And I ended up finishing second. I almost ran like 67, 68 miles, I think. Finished second place in that race. And I was like, hey, maybe this is something I'm good at. So next year I signed up for a 24-hour race and did 101 miles in that race. And then from there, it just became this thing of like, what's next? Like, how can I go further, or how can I challenge myself more? And then since then, I've done, 101 miles in 36 hours wearing a 20-pound vest like you do for Murph. So wore that the entire 36 hours, which was rough. And then
Oh,
I did 150 miles on a treadmill in 48 hours, which was also just a grind. And then between there somewhere, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So I mean, it's just like it's fitness and just being active as a whole has really just helped me, immensely when it comes to not only just my physical well-being, but my mental well-being. It gives me that time with myself, whether it be a 15-mile training run or a 100-mile race where you can really sit with yourself and think through things and get away from, it feels like you can get away from the hubbub and busyness of the world just for a few minutes and set down your phone and social media and all that fun stuff and get to it.
are you a morning guy? You get up in the morning, get your shit in?
Kind of, it's been both. Like it just having a child, it kind of mixes it all up. And then work schedules and everything. Because I work a 9 to 5. I work from home, fortunately, but it's kind of still a 9 to 5. Gotta do my job. So it's really when I can get it in. There's times where I'll like, have a kind of a break at lunch and I'll run to the gym and get a watt in, and then in the afternoon, evening time frame, I'll go out and get a 10-mile, 15-mile run in. But during the weekends when I got to get long runs in, normally it's a morning type deal. But for the most part, I'm probably a midday to afternoon guy.
Yeah. Good on you, man. Yeah, I relate to that COVID thing, man. I was putting up crazy miles during COVID. There was nothing else to do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there was nothing else to do. I was getting 70, 80-mile weeks, being like, I'm gonna go run a marathon today. Like my wife's like, where? It's like at the
yeah,
park.
yeah,
Just because, why not?
exactly.
But it's yeah, I took advantage of that, man. I just sent it. A lot of people ended up getting depressed and rightfully so, man, with you can't go
Yeah,
out to eat, you can't do anything. I mean, you literally can't do shit. They couldn't even go out. It was like you felt like you were breaking the law to go to the gas station. It was so
yeah,
strange. But we got super into fitness, and that's kind of where my journey started with the running too. Getting real thick into it. But now you're on to
yeah.
high rocks.
Yeah, yeah. So I had dabbled in high rocks before COVID had happened, and I really wasn't. I didn't know how to train for it, to be honest. Like I wasn't that kind of athlete. I feel like I was used to the like longer Spartan races where you're running in mountains, and then I love the mountains and running trails and all that kind of stuff. And doing high rocks those first couple times, I was like, all right, I'm dying. So I did it before COVID happened, and then when COVID ended, and when during COVID even a little bit, it was more ultra running. But I found myself kind of like, okay, I gotta see what's next. And so I decided this year, I was like, let's go back to that high rocks thing that seems to be really popular right now. So I've done two this year so far. I did Fort Lauderdale, and then between Fort Lauderdale and Anaheim, I did a 100-mile race and finished 100 miles in like 22 hours. And then 2 weeks later, did Anaheim, High Rocks Anaheim, and then I'm doing High Rocks New York City this week. So each time I've done it, I've PR'd so far. I went from doing an hour 14 in Fort Lauderdale, did an hour 11 this past week in Anaheim, and now I would love to do a sub hour 10 in New York City. So we'll see. But
That's
I've definitely learned how to train for it.
that's this coming Saturday.
Yeah, it's this coming Saturday, Pier 76, I think. It's gonna be an outdoor one, so that's gonna be interesting.
Sick. I'm gonna follow that, man. I've been getting super into it, just because I've cut my running way down,
Yeah,
and I love it. I don't really necessarily know how to train for it either. It sounds like you got it about figured out, but I'm just going balls to the wall with some of my workouts, and I'm really enjoying it. I think, and
yeah,
I'm also biased, but if you're gonna go into like high rock style training, I feel like having that long endurance running background is probably like the best thing that translates into those kind of workouts. I'm
yeah,
biased because I have that background, and obviously so do you.
yeah,
I also have a strength background too, but I feel like that good base endurance translates so well to that style of working out.
Yeah, no, I actually recover, I feel like, on the runs, and
Right.
I'm still
Right.
running like a 7 minute mile during those runs. So I feel pretty good about that. And then the stations, I'm like you, I love lifting heavy and doing the sled pushes and sled pull and all that kind of stuff. I normally put down a pretty decent time when you look racket stack across the field on those things. But I'm also, when I stand at an ultra running, race start line, I look around. I'm normally kind of the bigger guy because
Dude,
I weigh like 185.
me too.
I can. So it's like one of those things where like there's the other guys around me are like
They're like, what are
140.
you doing here?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I've got actually gotten that question before. One of the first ultra runs I ran, um, I was running, a 60K, I think it was, and I was in the lead group, and I just remember them all looking at me like, you sure about this, man? Like, you gonna make it the whole way running this pace? And I was like, I'm pretty comfortable with this. And I ended up finishing, top five or something like that in that race. But it's just funny the looks you get. And then, some of the comments like, you're a bigger guy for this. Like, yeah. But I mean, I ran in Texas, the Rocky Raccoon 100 miler a couple years ago, 2022, I think. And Nick Bear was there
Yep.
and he ran it. He finished like maybe an hour before me or something like that. He passed me on the final lap. I just remember, seeing his crew running with the cameras and stuff next to me, and I'm like, what is happening right now? But yeah, he was there, and he's another big. There's a lot more of those guys popping up right now where it's, there's no reason why you can't run far, lift heavy.
Yeah, I'm glad there's not just you and I out there, man, because I'm the same way. I'd show up to some of these races years ago and people would be looking at me like, what are you doing here, man? You're
Yeah.
just gonna get some miles just like you, brother. Like, is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. It translates so well to High Rocks though. What do you like to get down on? What's your favorite station?
Well, my favorite by far is the sled push, sled pull. But you know what's funny is it's probably the station I hate the most, but I end up doing the best when like again when you see what the because High Rocks does a great job of saying, okay, this was your time for, this station, and then this is what place you were amongst all the finishers for that particular station. And the one I keep doing really well at is burpee broad jumps. I hate burpee broad jumps.
So hard.
But and you're coming out of it with your heart rate's jacked and you're got to get back into a 1,000 meter run. But I always end up finishing with a pretty decent time when you look across the field, and I'm like, I think it's just again where ultra running helps with the mindset more so than anything. It's just don't stop. Just keep if you
Hmm.
just keep keep yourself moving one foot in front of the other, or just one jump after another, you're gonna get to the finish line. And it's this isn't going to last forever. That I think ultra running more so than just the physical piece, it's the mentality of it all. And I think Courtney DeWalter, GOAT ultra runner, if you don't know her, look her up. But she used to say, getting to the pain cave was a big thing. Now she looks forward to the pain cave.
That's why you
She
came,
looks,
brother.
yeah.
That's
So
why you signed up.
yeah, so like it's one of those things where now I feel like I've got that mentality a little bit where you look forward to that point where things get hard, not only because it's hard for you, but it's also hard for everybody else. And if it's hard for everybody else and then it's hard for you, but you have that mindset of like this isn't going to last forever. I'm here, I'm getting better, I'm improving myself like at the same time. I think the mentality pushes you through to the other side and then to ultimately help you, finish in the time you want to finish in or the place that you want to finish in. But yeah, the ultra running mindset, I think just not only with high rocks and competitions, but also just in life. Like this isn't going to last forever.
That's that
This is,
mentality. That's where you can
yeah,
translate it to. Yep.
exactly. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why I enjoy it.
Hell yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth, dude, because I'll talk to people, endurance athletes such as yourself or, high performing people in business or whatever. And it's like, you don't have to be into ultras or high rocks or being an entrepreneur, but if you listen with some intent, you can translate that mentality into anything that you might be interested in.
Oh, definitely.
Just that the
Yeah.
way that people think and go about their business when things get hard. You could translate that to anything, whatever it is that you like to do. It could
Yeah.
be knitting. When your
Yeah.
hands start to hurt, what are you going to do? You're going to stop, or you're going to keep pushing and get your quilt done. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
that's I love, yeah, you got to have that mindset. You really do.
Yeah.
And physical fitness is a great place to polish that up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think ultras really, especially like the 100-mile races, and those longer, more grueling type events that I've done in the past. It really is just a lesson in life. And at the end of the day, it's can you just continue to put one foot in front of the other, and then it's not going to last forever. You're going to get through this, and when you do, you're going to achieve something that you're going to really value in life because you had to struggle to get through it. And those are the things that people, I believe, really value in their lives. Like when you look back in your life and you reflect, the things that you had to struggle or that were hard for you to achieve and get, whether it was graduating college or graduating high school, whatever it was, those are the things that you value the most because you really had to work at it to get to the other side and to finish and complete it. And it's the stuff that comes easy to us that really doesn't hold that much value in our lives. If it's easy, it's okay, well, great. But it's those things that are hard that we accomplish and achieve and get through. Those are the things that we're going to look back in our lives and really be proud of. And the more I do those kind of events, the more I just view it as kind of what David Goggins views as it says as the cookie jar. It's just doing more and more of those things, the more you can reach back in life when times get hard and you are going through a moment where maybe a family member passes or you're struggling in your finances or something like that, where you can look back and say, okay, I've made it through harder things. I can get through this. I can figure this out.
Yeah, because you're putting yourself out there to go into those dark places on purpose.
Yeah.
What I've learned is that life doesn't give a shit. We
Yeah.
could end this podcast in 10 minutes and then you get a text or a phone call with some terrible news. Same with me. We have
Yeah.
no preparation for that or anything apart from kind of reaching into that jar, like you're saying, being like, well, here we go. You're in the
Yeah.
thick of it now, just like that. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then for me too, it's who I want to be the person that people can turn to in those times. And the way I view it is the more I do those kind of things, the more I'm battle tested, like for lack of a better term, and when times do get hard and people need assistance or they need help, whether it's my daughter, if she needs something to, daddy, come help me with this or something like that. And things are hard for her in a moment, whether, she's had moments in dance where things have gotten hard for her and she's kind of been emotional and I'm able to kind of relate to her. Hey, look, daddy's done hard things too. And I failed. I think the best thing that we can do in life is fail in a lot of
Hmm.
ways. And it's just being able to go through those failures and go through those life experiences and then being that person, whether it's your wife, husband, whoever it's going to be, that when things get hard, they know they can turn to you. I think that speaks for the kind of person you are as a whole. And that's the kind of person I want to be.
Yeah, me too. I heard this clip. Do you know who Derek Wolf is? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Derek too. Yeah.
yeah, I heard this clip. I think it was on my Instagram or something, just going through, and there was a little clip of a podcast that he was just on. I forget which pod it was, but he was saying, he's like, what kind of man or father would I be when my daughter looks at me and she goes, well, what did you do when it got hard, Dad? And he said, well, I just quit. Like,
Hmm.
what kind of example are you setting?
Yeah.
If as soon as something gets difficult, you quit. Your kids are gonna see that.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna hear about that. Or you can lie to them, I suppose, but that's not good parenting, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I mean, I think that's gone a long way. Like being the example for her has been another just good outcome of the things I've done. Just one of the stories I tell people is when I climbed Kilimanjaro, it was right around her birthday that I summited. I summited on her birthday actually, and she was really excited about the climb, and I don't think she really understood everything about it. She just knew at some point Daddy was going to be above the clouds, and so when I came down to the next lower camp after summiting, I had a couple of porters and people come around and sing kind of happy birthday to her. And what was cool about it is as the video is being shot, the clouds are literally below us, behind us. And she saw that video. Then she saw like my certificate and everything that I showed her for climbing Kilimanjaro and a lot of the pictures. And I was just telling her the story. And when that got done with that, she turned and she was like, "Well, I want to climb a mountain too. Like I want to do that too." And so we found Old Rag Mountain here in Virginia, up in the Shenandoah National Park area. And it's probably one of the more difficult climbs. I mean, it's the Virginia ranks it at the most dangerous climb. So taking a 7-year-old up to that was probably not the best idea and looking back in retrospect, but she got through it. There's a big rock scramble that you have to get through that makes it, kind of technical. And she kind of just scattered up and did a great job and never really had to worry about her. We stopped a couple times, had lunch, drank water and shared some stories. But then for me, seeing her at the top of that mountain with the same kind of pride in her face and the look in her eyes as when I climbed Kilimanjaro just meant a lot to me. And then we came back down, and then for her to say, "Well, what are we going to do next?"
Hell yeah.
kind of thing. And I think that's what drives me, is being that example for her, and being just the dad that she can count on.
Yeah, and she'll reach back to that moment a lot throughout her life too. I mean, 7 years old, she'll never forget that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, she still tells the story
Yeah.
because we also ran into a guy that had broke his leg going up too. So she saw somebody get medevac. So that would be that's part of the story too.
Dude, I wanna dive into this if you don't mind.
Yeah,
So many people are you got nutrition advice, this, that, and the third, and recovery advice. I try to ask everybody, or at least touch on it a little bit. I interview a lot of high performing guys like yourself. How do you eat? And then why do you eat the things that you choose to eat? And then we'll dive into some recovery stuff if you do any, which I know you do. You told me you just got some cryo in, so
yeah, yeah. Food wise, my girlfriend hates it because she doesn't think I eat enough. And I'm like, trust me, if I didn't eat enough, you'd know it with the miles that I run. And I'd be weighing 150 pounds right now because I've gotten down to that weight previously, years and years and years ago. So my body, if I don't feed it, it'll. Uh, so normally, I mean, I'm a big like I like big meals, and I snack kind of in between. But normally I'm big on the proteins. So I do eat red meat. I do eat chicken, fish, salmon, those kind of different things. Then I'm big on like the potatoes. The carbs are also a big part of it, especially running wise, because your body taps into those carbs first and use that as a fuel source first, and then the healthy fats, because once, especially in longer races, the 100 miles and things like that, once your body feeds off all the carbs, it's going to go to the fats, and having had those healthy fats in your system and everything else to feed off of was critical to me, and being able to survive longer and deeper into the race. um, I really noticed it this past 100 miler that I did. I ended up doing 50 miles and in a 9:20 pace for the first 50 miles of that 100 miler. And I had really adjusted my diet and really dialed it in to really work those healthy fats in. So a lot more avocados, a lot more just those kind of foods. And then I do supplement. So I work with a company called Manly, MNLY, and they do specific performance packs for the individual themselves. So basically, you get your blood work done. They'll send you a little packet. You prick your finger, put the blood on, you send it in the lab. Lab comes back and says, "All right, based on your blood work, this is what you need. This is the packet of vitamins and stuff that we're going to give you, and then here's the protocols that you need to follow diet wise. Here's the meats, all the different foods that you need to intake to boost your testosterone, boost B12, all those kind of different things." So having that has been a game changer for me, because it's really helped me dial in and also fill in the gaps where my blood work's showing that I have gaps. So for most people, I'd say it's really going to be difficult for me to tell you exactly what to eat because what I eat in a day and what you eat in a day could be the same exact thing, but our bodies react to it differently because of the training or, everything just personalized to our body. So blood work, I feel like getting your blood work done and then going and doing your supplementation and your diet surrounding that is going to be better than anything I could tell you to go out and eat today. And for you men out there, Manly is probably going to be the best. I'm going to do a plug, but
Do you have a code?
I do. It's going to be in my Instagram bio. And so if people go in, click on my Instagram bio, it'll take you to the Manly page and you can order from there. And it's relatively inexpensive for what you're getting out of the whole process. And then so you asked me about diet. What was the other thing? Sorry.
No, you're good. I just got a couple more questions regarding that. How many meals are you eating a day?
Uh,
Big ones.
four big ones,
Four.
4 meals a day. I mean, I'm big on the food is fuel kind of thing, and so I eat normally 2 meals or surrounding a run or a big training event. Like you mentioned earlier, High Rocks is a different kind of beast. So you're not going in and normally getting 10, 12 minute wads in. You're working out for 45 to an hour and a half in some cases. I've got some longer wads where you're just putting in work for an hour and a half. And so I use food before that to fuel the workout, and then after that to recover from the workout. And then, normally I'll eat a breakfast, relatively small breakfast. I'm not a big breakfast eater. And then I'll kind of have a midday, chicken breast or rice and something like that. But in the afternoons where I really feed.
Are you tracking your food, macros and stuff?
No, no. I go a lot based on
Feel?
honestly feel, and
Yep.
then I've got it down now where I don't use the scale a lot. I mean I'll use it as a tool every now and then, but I can look at myself in the mirror and go, I'm off, I'm bloated, I ate something that I probably shouldn't have
Hmm.
ate. I can feel it when I work out. I can feel it in my runs, like my body's not working the way it should because when you get to a certain point, I think for most guys who work out on a regular basis and compete and do those kind of things, you can tell when something's off. It's the your check engine light comes on pretty quick. And so then you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to dial back or what do I need more of? And again, that's where the blood work and all that kind of stuff came into play for me was I was able to really dial it in for the most recent run of High Rocks, 100 miler, High Rocks, High Rocks.
Hmm. Yeah, I tell a lot of the guys that I coach, it's a lot of that comes with experience, man.
Yeah,
Just, it's always good to track your food when you're first starting off. That way you have a general understanding of
yeah,
what your body needs, how much it needs, how often it needs that. And then the mirror tells a lot, dude. The mirror and just how you feel can tell you
yeah.
just about everything you need to know, but you can't start off like that. You have to have some sort of baseline to work off of.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I'm about to turn 43 this year, so that's years of just experience of knowing my body, and that's actually what helps a lot of ultra runners when you go into most if you look at the results of most ultra marathons, like 100 miler plus type marathons, it's not the 22-year-olds winning those races. It's
No.
guys and gals who are in their late 30s, early 40s,
Hmm.
because they know their body. And then, again, I'll refer to Courtney Dauwalter. She had a conversation with Joe Rogan, and one of the big things about what comes with age is experience and that you've dealt with some level of suffering in your life. 22, the worst thing that could have happened to you at that point, maybe it could have been you lost your car chapstick. That could be the worst thing.
Yep.
Where you get to your 40s and you've been through some life, and you're able to look back and like I said with Goggins, go back to the cookie jar and say, okay, I've been through some things. If this is going to eventually end, we're going to get through this. And those are the people that normally win those races.
No, you're right. You're definitely right. Just don't take any diet tips from Courtney. I don't think her diet's on.
Oh no,
She's
no,
just
no.
like
She's like
I
she's like
drink beer
Skittles.
and eat candy and all
Yeah,
this other stuff.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny. What about recovery? I know that you told me that you just got done with some cryo. You do tubs, sauna. What else you got?
I do a little bit of all that. I mean, after High Rocks, the most recent High Rocks, in Anaheim, my girlfriend and I went to a place called Revival in Playa Vista and did a cold, kind of cold plunge infrared sauna, kind of doing the contrast therapy. That felt great. That felt amazing. I do cryo quite often here at a local place called Fire and Ice. in Newport News. And so I'll do that. I'll do infrared work. I do local cryo if I need it. I've done the IV bag recently after the 100 miler, and that really opened my eyes to what that kind of recovery could do for you, because it was just weird because I could taste the vitamins as the IV's going into you. But having that level of hydration and getting back on my feet and back to training after that, that was a big game changer for me. So, I'll probably try to incorporate that into kind of what I do in the future. But yeah, I mean, take care of your body and it'll take care of you. I've done a lot of chiropractic work in the past with getting adjustments and those kind of things. Massage work, all that. I mean, it's a lot of people don't want to spend the money on, healthy food and doing, the gym membership, and then on top of that, doing all the recovery stuff. But ultimately, the way I view it is it's an investment in my future. I mean, the more I invest in my body today, the less I have to probably pay in hospital bills later.
You only get one crack at it, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, I'm looking to be the most, I want to be the 80, 90-year-old you see on Instagram sometimes still out there running marathons and stuff like that. I don't want to be that person that just after retirement just settles in and, just waits for death to happen. I want to be, active with the grandkids, active with the great grandkids if I happen to have them. Like that's the kind of, life I want to lead.
Oh yeah. Do you do any stretching?
Not as much as my
I
girlfriend would like.
knew I would get you on that. Nobody
Yeah,
stretches, dog. I knew I'd get you
yeah,
on that.
no, she's a former gymnast. She has her own training company. She's big in mobility and all that kind of stuff. So
20
she'll just
minutes
look
a
at
day, Jason. 20
she'll,
minutes a day, brother. Get it in. I'm telling you, dog.
yeah, I gotta do, I do have to do better at that. She'll look at me sitting on the couch and just be like, I just looking at you makes me tight. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So yeah, I got to do better at that one. Yeah, I do I'll do like a whole 2 minutes of it, but yeah,
Oh, we
that's the
need we
one.
need 2+ minute holds for each stretch,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, yeah. No, I know that's one thing I definitely need to improve on.
Yep, it is, man. That's like one of my biggest things. I do teach some high rocks classes and some other like kind of personalized classes, and I'll warm everybody up and I'll put them in some like yoga poses. I'll be like, y'all didn't
Yeah,
know you were doing yoga today, did you? So
yeah.
I'm huge on it, man. I had a coach for a couple ultras. His name's Justin Hamilton, and
Hmm.
he really got me into the mobility stuff because I was
Yeah,
getting hurt a lot. He's like, dude, you got to stretch out. And once I
yeah,
started stretching out, man, like my injuries would kind of disappear and my recovery was quicker. So I'm a huge component on that. I try to get
yeah,
everybody to stretch out a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Between you, her, and everybody else, I got to get more into that. Yeah,
Just 20 minutes, man. 20 minutes. That's it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can do it. Dude,
yeah, definitely.
you got any final messages? I want to be respectful of your time. Just any final messages for everybody that's listening?
Yeah, I think the one thing I like to kind of leave conversations on is everybody out there has goals in life, whether it's losing 50 pounds or running a 100-mile race. Because I do get asked these questions a lot about, well, how do you go running 100 miles, or how did you lose 50 pounds in the time you did and everything else? And it's what I've been saying pretty much this whole conversation is one step at a time. I think a lot of us tend to view the bigger goal as in its wholeness versus looking at it in chunks. I mean, losing 50 pounds, that could be a pound a week if that's how fast you want to lose the weight. But breaking your goals down into mini goals and then staying motivated and consistent. Consistency is going to be your biggest proponent when it comes to doing the things you want to do in life. And so that's the best piece of advice I can give anybody is going with the mindset of having the bigger goal, but ultimately being able to break that down into smaller goals, whether it be, I want to run, 10 miles the first week and then build up to a year after a year being able to run, 20 miles in a week or something like that. Whatever it's going to be, break it down so that it's manageable and then just stay consistent with the plan. I mean, I know a lot of us get motivation is fleeting. It's the consistency and ultimately you getting in the gym and or you know, whatever you want to do in life, getting in the book and reading the books that you need to do to get better at your job or get better at your finances or get better at your relationship. You know, that those are all goals that you know we need to start off with having the better goal, bigger goal of having a better relationship. What does that mean? I don't know, but we're going to start today with having the conversation, reading a book, talking to a therapist, talking to a professional, whatever it's going to be. And then for the veterans and particularly for me, for the audience that I like to talk to, for the men out there, what we talked about earlier, don't hold it in. Reach out and find help. And it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength when you can actually reach out and talk about your problems and find that assistance and find that spotter in your life.
Well said, brother. Where can people find you?
The real place is Instagram. It's J Floyd Wood, just the letter J, Floyd Wood. And then from there, you can follow along with all the fun stories. My life has changed a lot over the last couple years, year specifically with the content I've posted, and then you know the races and everything combined with daddy-daughter time and relationships and all that kind of fun stuff. So it's a wild time, and I'm here to. I'm here for it.
Sick. Man, I appreciate your time. This was a lot of fun. It was a pleasure getting to know you. These are always my favorite kind of podcasts where exchange a couple messages on the internet and get you on,
Yeah.
talk for an hour, and really cool. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the platform, and it's been a really, really great time with you.
All right, man. Stay on the line. We'll get you out of here. Thanks,
All
bro.
right, sounds good. Thanks, brother.
So that'll be that. I think we're still recording, but I won't have any of this in here.
Okay.
Let me just try. Like I said, if we might get cut off, I'm gonna do stop recording. Hopefully it still has our faces on here. So